Hello and welcome to my Capstone Project. My name is Tim Tavish, and I'm going to be taking you through my journey as a career educator, and I'm going to be looking at it through the lens of an outdoor education overnight trip that I've been building. It's called the Tenquil Owl Traverse and involves passing through several mountain passes near Pemberton, BC. So how does a rugged, multi-day backpacking trip relate to career education? This route is unique in that where there is a general direction, much of the route does not have a fixed path. It's an ideal metaphor for chaos theory. We know where we want to get to, but the path is not defined. To successfully navigate on this route, we need skills, traits, and tools that will be developed as we progress. Because this route is not defined, it means that our route will very likely be different than that of others. Accepting this and embracing this chaos is part of the experience. My own personal career journey has been a perfect example of this. I followed my passion in the outdoors to a career that was unfulfilling, and have adapted, changed, and embraced the chaos. Looking back, Hope-Filled Engagement's career integrity model would have been useful to me. They identify passion as important, but that it's not the only significant factor to consider when trying to establish one's path. Now, I have made that passion for the outdoors an element of my career in teaching. This personal experience is a valuable lesson to bring to students to help them understand their passions and contextualize that alongside their skills. Returning to our metaphorical trail as we trace this journey of understanding career education, I feel like I arrived at the trailhead with many of the tools I needed to thrive. I have a great deal of career experience, and I've been lucky enough to receive career development coaching along the way. This gave me a good sense of where this course would go and what students might need to assist them to find the best careers for them. But, just like my first time on this trail, I was also being challenged. It poured rain, and I got soaked when I first did this. My plan had to adapt. I needed to stop and reconsider. In the course, I had a few technical kerfuffles that made things challenging. The benefit of hindsight, I can look back through the lens of that circle of courage. Both in career development and in the outdoors, I thought of myself as someone who had achieved mastery, and I was busy trying to make the situation make sense to my experience and my understanding as a prospective socials teacher. I failed to appreciate the focus of career development being about understanding the curriculum itself, not how it relates to our chosen areas of expertise. Looking back, through the model, I can see how my ideas of mastery and my own preconceptions had me ignoring key lessons that the First People's Principles of Learning and the Circle really focus on. But mastery is found when connected to belonging and mentorship and guidance of others. Connecting with Sheila and identifying the correct expectations helped me realign my focus and press onwards. The timing was perfect then to discover Chris Magnuson's concept of career gumption.
Where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no hope, there is no future. People who have no hope refuse to act in the present. It just makes sense. And once I find this hope, how do I build and sustain the enthusiasm, the energy, just the plain will to be continuously adaptive? If you've got to make 10 changes in the next 20 years, you better have some of that energy.
When it's soaking wet outside and your clothes are wet and everything's wet, it's hard to motivate oneself and especially groups of students on outdoor trips. So this idea of gumption is really important, and it reminded me of my own need to metaphorically get my gumption together, get out there, and learn some new skills. Back on the trail, it's getting to the point where things get really difficult. The path is uncertain, there's no real easy way to understand, and one can easily find themselves in more dangerous terrain. In bad weather, this area can be very difficult to navigate, and it can be near impossible to find the correct path. But with sound advice from Sheila and some new skills, I was able to figure it out and work my way through this complicated terrain, both physically and metaphorically. I took a second go at my assignments, and I did my best to learn from the lessons. There still is a lot of way to go, but I was starting to move down towards a better understanding of career literacy and of the whole cycle of how these things come together, but also how they relate to my path, understanding career education. From this open, hard-to-navigate area, we return to a well-worn path. I've always been fascinated by the idea of changing economies and changing career paths, but examining sources like the Brookfield Institute's look at megatrends, this is a good reminder of ideas discussed earlier that careers are rapidly changing. It was a powerful reminder of how important equipping students with competencies to assess the changing world is. As one of SARIC's 8 principles points out, Career development is dynamic, evolving, and requires continuous adaptation and resilience through multiple transitions. As I head into straightforward teaching, it's easy to forget that for many others, there are much less tangible career paths out there. And so now I think it's probably fair to say that where I am on my journey is actually not done it. I mean, after all, learning is a lifelong experience, as those same 8 principles have pointed out. So looking forward, what comes next as we climb steep hills? Looking forward with the benefit of my journey, I can better understand my role as a career influencer. There are several areas and ideas I have for building career education in my own lessons, or teaching career education directly myself. I can see a great many places where I can use my own story to help students learn about career life development and career life journeys. My story will not be the same as theirs, but storytelling is an important vehicle for learning, especially if it is to be authentic and genuine. And I want to use that as a launching board for other students to examine ideas of skills and passions and see how they interact. From the perspective of outdoor education, there are a lot of great cross-curricular opportunities with career education, especially around experiencing. On an overnight camping trip of this nature, there are numerous opportunities for career discovery and self-exploration with students. I've seen so many students who've never even boiled water develop a love of cooking when they camp. They will return their next trip excitedly planning their meals and coming up with budgets for how to get the best flavors. These kind of exercises can quickly be connected to curricular competencies of experiencing, especially with culinary arts. But we can broaden this to even look at budgeting and all these other elements, because the planning and costing is part of so many different professions. Giving students a taste, if you'll excuse the pun, of what they might enjoy is just one small area where I can see this working out really well. I also think there's something very unique about the outdoors. It seems to draw people naturally to self-reflection. Sharing questions with a focus on the examine competency could be a really comfortable place for students to approach, especially with older grades that are already moving towards graduation and really have a lot of pressure on them, especially in classrooms or at home with their parents, of how to contextualize themselves and how to know what's going on. This could be a chance to get away from that, to find a sense of place outside of the classroom, to examine these questions and go over these daunting self-reflections in a space that maybe complements them more. I've certainly seen some diverse learners who would benefit from that. Which gets us to the end of the trail. So what happens next? The truth is, I don't know. Part of reflecting on this past program is recognizing my patterns. I'm a socially motivated person and a verbal processor, which has led to a pretty common trend. Once I finish a course and then head into my practicum, the questions suddenly start brimming as I find numerous circumstances relating to the topics we just covered. For me, that is a big part of the excitement of teaching, the discovery of curiosity with each new learner you encounter. I hope in the future I can reach out within 2 months, because I will definitely be filled with a lot of questions.